Okay, hello everyone, welcome to the By the Minute Mixed Martial Arts Show. We're doing the UFC 210 post-fight show. Going to talk about everything that happened tonight. A couple of things. If by any chance you haven't seen the show and you are waiting to see it and you don't want any spoilers, we're going to start that in about a minute. Also, if anybody knows why the hell I can't change the brightness on my screen, as you can see the kind of laptop glare in my glasses, let me know, because I'm trying a million different things and for some reason the brightness up and down isn't working and I don't know why. I think the New York State Athletic Commission have installed my laptop. So yeah, we're going to talk main event, we'll work our way down the main card and then we'll talk about the prelims. So if you don't want any spoilers, you better log out just now. So yeah, main event, Anthony Rumble Johnson announced his retirement after losing to Daniel Cormier in the second round at 3:37 of the second round. This, I don't even know where to start with this fight. I said on the feed, if you give me a million chances to map out how I thought the first round of this fight would go, I wouldn't have got close on any of them. Rumble, I mean, everybody kind of knew this was a fight that if Rumble keeps it standing and is able to land in the first round, then he's got a chance. But Rumble threw one right hand and it kind of grazed, then Cormier threw a right hand back which landed pretty flush, and then after that Rumble spent the rest of the round going for takedowns and kind of draining his tank, going for clinches, and Cormier was more than happy to just allow that to happen. So Johnson, they kind of talk about the 7-minute mark with Anthony Rumble Johnson. Once he gets past 7 minutes, then he probably can't win the fight. So he wasted about 4 minutes of it going for this, and then the referee John McCarthy splits them up, goes back to the centre. Cormier quite happily just ends up in a stand-up war with Johnson, which he promised was going to happen and didn't really deliver that well. But then Cormier catches him with a knee to the body, and one thing that Johnson did at the start of the second round, you'll notice he went to southpaw, and part of the reason he went to southpaw is he thought the left high kick was going to be there because Cormier likes to lean to his right straight into it, and when Cormier took the knee to the body, Cormier did lean down a bit, and that was when Johnson was able to come over with the high kick, which kind of squinted off Cormier's nose and definitely wobbled him. So as much as Johnson definitely won the first round, it was not exactly a smart plan to get a win. It just didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So into the second round, Johnson again going for clinches. He did go for a takedown, he did get one. Cormier got up pretty quickly, reversed the position, and then Cormier was able to take him down, get on top, take the back. Rumble fought it off for a little bit, but Cormier was able to flatten him out and get the rear naked choke, and that was that. So yeah, a bizarre main event, not so much in terms of it being a completely bizarre fight. We'll talk about bizarre when we get to the co-main event, but bizarre in Rumble's game plan just made no sense. So then, of course, we know that there's no bad blood between Cormier and Rumble Johnson, so obviously we get to the post-fight, the result is announced. Cormier just kind of says to Rumble when Joe Rogan comes in to talk to him, he says, "You go first." So Rumble goes first, he starts to get a bit emotional, and I'm thinking there's no way he's retiring, not at this point. Rumble does announce his retirement, and yeah, I don't think anybody saw that coming. When Rumble said he's got an announcement before he got emotional, I thought he's moving to heavyweight. He said that he has a job that has nothing to do with MMA and it's something he's always wanted to do. So, I mean, good luck to Rumble, but he did say that this is something he had talked about to his family, but obviously not made a big deal about. But this is kind of like the Miesha Tate one to me. Sorry. The Miesha Tate one to me was very strange, and I kind of felt like Miesha Tate would probably be back. Now, obviously, it's been 5 months or so, and we haven't seen her, so maybe she is done. But the Rumble one just kind of came out of nowhere, so we'll have to see what happens. Cormier got on the mic after and was unbelievable, to be honest. Cormier, at the end of the fight, I didn't notice this, but Cormier went over to Jimmy Manuwa, who was in the front row, and started talking shit to Jimmy. And when he got back in the cage, when Cormier was being interviewed, he said something about the fans boo me, but I'm making money and I'm getting championships, and he kind of laughed at the end of it, just kind of having a laugh, but kind of embracing a bit of a heel persona, if you like, kind of getting I don't know how to describe it, because he did laugh a bit at the end, but it was almost like, well, if you're going to boo me, I'm just going to play it to me. So he says to Manoa, you know you don't want this fight. Manoa's standing in the front row going, one punch is all I need. And Cormier says, well, you beat Corey Anderson. I like Corey Anderson, but come on. And then Rogan asks about John Jones, and Cormier's like, who? And then basically kind of goes into a thing about he's not eligible to fight. And he said something, I'll have to get the quote because it was actually great. He said, let me find it. He said, don't talk to me. No, that's not it. He said, get your academics straight before you get back in the classroom, which I actually quite liked. I thought that was a good line. I don't know what's going to happen next. I've kind of talked about this on the last couple of videos about whether it's going to be Manoa, whether it's going to be Jones, or whether it's going to be the winner of Gustafsson and Teixeira. So that was interesting. So we'll see what happens there. One thing that I saw just before he clamped on the rear naked choke, and I might have been the only one who saw this, and I haven't gone back and checked it yet, so I might be completely wrong, but when Cormier was coming across the face to try and get under the chin, there was a point where it kind of looked like he fish hooked Rumble. Now obviously Rumble never said anything about it. I will go back and watch it tomorrow, or today. It's 5:56 a.m. here. I'll go back and watch it at some point, and I might see it again and think, yeah, there's nothing happened. So, but if anybody saw that, then let me know, because I thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy in the main event. Even crazier in the co-main event. The official result, the co-main event, is Gegard Mousasi defeats Chris Weidman by TKO in 3:13 of the second round. Now basically what happened here was, in the first round, Weidman was completely dominant. He had 3 takedowns. He wobbled Mousasi with a right hand. I think I was the only person, but I actually gave it a 10-8 to Weidman. He was just so dominant in the first round. I'm not going to argue a 10-9. 10-9's fine. And then the second round, Mousasi started to build it back up. So Mousasi did a good job off his back. We all knew Weidman would have an advantage in wrestling, but Mousasi actually defended it quite well and got out of some bad positions. And then at one point Mousasi's able to grab Weidman standing like he's going to try and slap on a guillotine. And Weidman gets 2 hands down on the mat. Mousasi throws 2 knees, and you know the new rules which were being used tonight. The new rules dictate that if you have one hand down, which used to be a downed opponent, it's no longer a downed opponent. You need to have both hands down. And for the first one, it was quite clear Weidman had one hand down and one hand close. But after that, what was not so clear was whether both hands were down on the second knee. And Dan Mergliotta, the referee, stepped in and made sure that it was going to be looked at. Now he called the second one an illegal knee, so there was that. And it took a few replays if you were watching live, because every replay seemed to be shot so close that you actually couldn't see Weidman's hands. But they eventually got a replay, and what happens is Gegard, when he's got it grabbed, he's got the top of his wrist near his elbow kind of underneath Weidman's shoulders, and just before he throws the knees, he's lifting them, and it does lift one hand off, so it's a perfectly legal knee. Now Weidman obviously sells it like he's been knocked completely silly. So I think you see that sometimes, and I'm not going to say anything bad about Chris Weidman. I don't know exactly what happened, but in that sense, obviously, I mean, I wasn't there. But so one rule that the New York State Athletic Commission has, and the New York State Athletic Commission completely suck, right? They're an awful commission, and I have, as excited as I was that MMA was legal in New York, I'm really not looking forward to the next card that's going to be in the state. I know there's one booked, I can't remember when it is, but one of the rules they have is that you can't use the video replay. So of course Dan Mergliotta uses the video replay, sees that the knees are legal, and then decides the fight's going to continue. The doctor comes in and decides that Weidman can't continue, and that way it's going to be a TKO victory for Gegard. Now this was utter nonsense, and so Gegard says, I'll quite happily have a rematch. Weidman's obviously really upset. He originally was like, I know both hands were down, and Rogan had seen the replay so many times that he basically called out Weidman on his bullshit and said, look, this is what happened. Showed him the replay. Weidman accepts when he sees it. Now I'm pretty sure there's going to be a rematch of this, but obviously there's the condition that this was Gegard's last fight on his deal, so who knows what's going to happen there. I mean, this was like a worst case scenario for re-signing Gegard, because either he lost and UFC can go, who cares, and even let him go, which I don't think they should do, but they don't seem too excited about re-signing guys for big money. The other thing, obviously, Gegard wins, and you might have a queue which involves obviously GSP's getting the shot. Then you're probably looking at Yoel Romero and then Gegard. Gegard's obviously long overdue for a title shot, so it needs to happen at some point. But this kind of creates a bit of a nothing scenario, and I do expect a rematch to happen. But what I also expect is that Weidman will lodge an appeal with the Athletic Commission, basically saying that replay is not allowed. And as much as Gegard has the win right now, this will almost certainly be overturned into a no contest. And I don't see a lot of people talking about that. But the New York State Athletic Commission used something that was illegal, or the referees anyway, used something that was illegal in their rules to overturn and say it was actually a legal knee. So they broke the rules essentially of the commission to award a TKO victory to Mousasi. So I don't expect it to stand up over time. So I do expect Gegard to be re-signed. I do expect this to be overturned into a no contest, and then I do expect to see a rematch pretty soon, to be honest. You're probably looking at, I'd say at the latest, 213, which is going to be International Fight Week. Speaking of International Fight Week, we'll get on to the rest of the card, but Uriah Faber will be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. It's been a discussion a lot over the past few years. Is Uriah Faber a Hall of Famer? And I'm personally delighted that that question has just been answered. Uriah Faber to me is a definite Hall of Famer. He didn't win a UFC belt, obviously, and he did have numerous opportunities, but his work in the WEC to me was just so great that he absolutely deserves this accolade. He will be inducted on the Thursday night. Last year they did a Thursday, Friday and Saturday fight show, but this year it looks like they're going to do the Hall of Fame on Thursday. They're going to have the show on the Friday, which I assume is going to be the Ultimate Fighter finale, where you'll see Dillashaw Garbrandt, and then you'll get UFC 213 on the Saturday. So delighted for Uriah Faber, well deserved. Back to the card. Third from the top was Cynthia Calvillo and Pearl Gonzalez. Really good fight. We spoke to Pearl last week. Go and check it out on the channel. Cynthia won the first 2 rounds. I don't think there's any denying. It looked like Pearl's game plan was to essentially close the distance and try and tire Cynthia out. And you saw a lot in the first round that when Cynthia was throwing, Pearl was blocking really easily. So Cynthia was winning the round anyway because she was more active, because she was throwing strikes, but nothing really was landing. And then obviously she was able to get her down and use her transitions. Now I said this before, that when I saw Cynthia Calvillo, and this must have been January, maybe December, and in fact no, it was in LFA, so it was definitely after New Year, when she fought Montana Stewart, I thought Cynthia's transitions looked okay but a little slow, and I know for a fact that I must be wrong, because there's no way you can go from that to this in just a few months. Her transitions are absolutely incredible. UFC have a legit prospect on their hands in Cynthia Calvillo. So Pearl showed some stuff, and in the third round Pearl kind of, to me, laid out a bit of a game plan of how you would beat Cynthia Calvillo. Now obviously the best way to defeat Cynthia Calvillo is not to engage in a ground battle. I thought it would be closer than it was on the ground, and Pearl certainly defended well, but she didn't do enough from her back to be able to get into better positions. And a lot of the times when she did do something to get into a better position, Calvillo was able to use that to slide across and take a better top position, a more dominant top position. So she was fantastic. I was really impressed. In the third round, Pearl in the third round, she was striking well, and what she was doing really well was Calvillo was not checking leg kicks. So what she was doing was throwing leg kicks. Calvillo was getting a little rocked, and then she was able to land over the top. And I think a lot of people, whoever the next person is to face Cynthia Calvillo, will definitely look at that. So the finish, obviously, Calvillo gets her back again and is able to lock in a rear naked choke. Pearl did a good job of hand fighting for a while, but Calvillo just came in so quickly and was able to get under the chin. So really impressed. I don't see Calvillo fighting for the title this year by any means, but I will be annoyed if she doesn't have a ranking next to her name at the end of the week. So great performance from Cynthia Calvillo. Pearl will be back. She's tough as nails. It was a really gutsy performance against a girl who just had better jiu-jitsu. So I'm not too worried about her future either, and I expect Cynthia to have a really big fight next. I don't expect it to be such a quick turnaround this time. I assume she's going to get a couple of months off, but yeah, brilliant. So really impressed with both girls here, particularly Cynthia. Rest of the main card, we had Thiago Alves defeat Patrick Cote by decision. This was just one guy dominating another, to be honest. Cote had little moments in this fight, but to be honest, Thiago dominated pretty much everywhere the fight went. The big story coming out of this was obviously the retirement of Patrick Cote, a guy who's fought for 15 years, a guy who had a title shot against Anderson Silva, had won 3 straight before losing to Cerrone and then losing this fight. And I'm okay, because I think that I'm always okay with guys retiring in their prime or close to their prime. There's nothing sadder than watching like BJ Penn at the moment. BJ Penn at the moment is just, it's sad to watch. And even though he's fighting, when you think of someone as good as BJ Penn and the fact he's fighting Dennis Seaver next, and people are still kind of worried he's going to lose that fight and look terrible, you've got to step away. So, but that's another debate. To me, Thiago Alves, that was his best performance in a while. He obviously tried to go down a weight class, and it was a bad idea. He missed weight badly, and yeah, glad to see him back. And I expect big things from Thiago Alves. I don't expect him to get anywhere near the title picture, but I always expect him to put on good fights against top 15, top 10 guys. So always good to watch. And the opener was Will Brooks losing to Charles Oliveira in 2:30. Now, someone put on Twitter that the translator that Charles Oliveira had after the fight did not mention the fact that Charles Oliveira said in Portuguese that he basically asked Sean Shelby to let him fight at 145. Now, let's bring up Charles Oliveira's record at 145. I'm not talking obviously his fight record, I'm talking his weight record, because it's abysmal, right? Charles Oliveira, okay, so December 2014, fought Jeremy Stephens, missed weight by half a pound, these things happen. He fought Nick Lentz, he fought Max Holloway, and then it got silly. He won 50.5, he weighed for a Miles Jury fight, and he won by submission. Then he fought Anthony Pettis, he made weight but barely, he looked horrible in this fight, to be honest. Then he fought Ricardo Lamas and weighed 155 pounds for a featherweight bout. That's unacceptable. So then he returned to lightweight, had his best performance in God knows how long, and then apparently wants to move back to 145. It's 6:07 over here in the morning, so I don't want to go into too much of a rant about weight cutting, but stick at 155. This idea of extreme weight cutting helping your performance, it does as much to hinder your performance when fight night comes than like the size advantage really helps you. I think obviously his worry, and he's talked about this in the past, his worry is that when he faces guys at 155, he's worried that he's going to be not strong enough and they're going to be too big for him. But his performance was amazing. So I mean, Will Brooks, a former Bellator champion, a guy who came across with a bit of fanfare. Fair enough, it's not worked out so far, but Oliveira destroyed him. Rear naked choke 230 in the first round. Just a tremendous performance. So that was your main card. We'll talk about the prelims in a second. It may be a little bit early, but I'm going to try and see if performance of the night bonuses have been announced. I know quite often they don't really get announced until the press conference, which I doubt will have happened by now. Someone's put it out, but yeah, I don't think those are right, to be honest. So we'll come back to that in a bit. We'll talk the prelims. I can barely remember the prelims. It's been that long, but we'll skip through them quickly. So Magomed Bibulatov defeated Janelle Lausa. It was 29-26 across the board. Bibulatov was just completely dominant. Third round was a clear 10-8. He did have a point deducted for a second nut shot, which, I mean, they were so slack. They're not deliberate by any means, but they were just so careless that, I mean, you had to take the point away on the second one. So Bibulatov, not quite the star-making performance that I hoped for from a flyweight, especially someone so well thought of like Bibulatov, and especially in a division where we need new challengers for Demetrius Johnson. He's got Wilson Heist next week. I don't think anyone expects Wilson Heist to beat him. As I've said before, I think the only challenger in the top 10 at the moment who hasn't lost to him at the moment, who might have anything resembling a shot, is Ray Borg, and even then obviously you would pick Demetrius to win that fight. I was hoping for a bit more out of Bibulatov, but I mean, he still won the fight convincingly, so good on him. Getting his feet wet in the cage, so good performance. Calvin Chukagian took a split decision over Irene Aldana. This was an unbelievably good fight and an unbelievably close fight. I thought Chukagian won the first and Aldana won the second. I thought the first was reasonably close, but I couldn't make a case for Aldana. Second was a clear Aldana, and then the third round was just like unbelievably close. This was almost exclusively a stand-up fight. Chukagian did obviously try and get Aldana down. Aldana as I spoke on the preview show, Aldana will maybe move to featherweight after this fight, especially after losing this fight. She may stick at bantamweight, but she's probably more of a natural 145er. Whereas Chookagian is probably more of a flyweight, but because there's not a flyweight and she's never making 115, she fights at 135. Now Aldana didn't really use the size advantage, but you could kind of see it in the cage. But Chookagian was always going to have to take her down. I think she took her down once in the fight, but Aldana's takedown defense just looked really easy in this fight. But credit to Chookagian, she kept plugging away. I gave Aldana the third round and I had Aldana winning 29-28. I'm not going to argue with anybody who went the other way. The third round was razor close. So going to be interested to see what happens with these two going forward. If Aldana does move to featherweight, there's probably not a spot for her right now, but then Holly Holm lost 2 straight and got a title shot, so who knows. Desmond Green defeated Josh Emmett. This was a split decision. I had 29-28 Green. Desmond Green, the story of this fight essentially in the second and third round was Emmett threw tons of strikes and barely landed. Desmond picked his shots and was very accurate. Quantity over quality, absolutely, in the second and third round. I thought Emmett kind of edged the first round, but really impressed with Desmond Green in his UFC debut. And that's obviously Emmett's first pro loss, so obviously disappointing for him. But Desmond Green, it's always good to see guys make their Octagon debut. Everybody talks about Octagon jitters, and you do see it sometimes. You certainly see it with a lot of guys and girls, but Desmond Green looked like he belonged. Really impressed. He was a champion in Titan FC. He was a champion in Bellator. I'm looking forward to seeing more at lightweight. The featured bout of the prelims, Gregor Gillespie defeated Andrew Holbrook in 21 seconds, knocked him out. Landed a 1-2 combination, then a left cross. Holbrook went down. Gillespie got on top, ground and pound, referee stopped it. Holbrook looked disgusted by the stoppage. I understand, but he's got no case. It was a clear stoppage. He wasn't defending himself. Gregor Gillespie, I mean, that was his first knockout, and he did it in style, so really impressive. And he actually saved the schedulers a wee bit, because I think it was UFC 199 where they did 4 fights on Fight Pass before the the TV prelims before a pay-per-view. Crammed down in an hour and 3/4, and it's a bloody nightmare. And then by the time these guys got in the cage, it was about 14 minutes to the hour, so there was no way they were going to get this in by the top of the hour if it went to a decision. Gregor Gillespie saved their arse. Good lad. I love Fight Pass. Don't do 4 fights. Or if you're going to do 4 fights, start it at the top of the hour and give us 2 hours, because it's just far too rushed. Folk are just getting chucked in and out of the cage. There was a point, because the first fight went to a decision, Aldana's standing, still getting Vaseline. Caitlin Chookagian, whatever her song is, hits and she runs down like the bloody Ultimate Warrior and has to stop while Aldana's not even in the cage yet. It's a nonsense. So, and it doesn't allow for guys to have a post-fight promo. No one got to talk to Joe Rogan apart from Gillespie, because he got the finish so quickly. If he hadn't got the finish, he wouldn't have got to talk. So yeah, a nonsense. So on to the TV prelims. Patrick Cummins beat Jan Blachowicz. This was quite a comeback, because Blachowicz possibly won the first round 10-8. I know one judge gave it 10-8. I thought it was a 10-9, but it was really close. Blachowicz knocked him down really early. Cummins was absolutely surviving, and this looked like the fight was dead. Cummins made a really good comeback, clearly won round 2 and round 3 to take the decision. If you follow Esther Lynn, the MMA fighting photographer, her Twitter account I think is All Elbows. She took a phenomenal picture of Patrick Cummins as he came out of the cage. I can't even describe it, just go and find it, okay? But really impressed with Patrick Cummins. One of these guys needed to win, because I think they both dropped 2 straight in 3 of the last 4, so somebody needed to win, and Cummins just outlasted him. There was a point at the end of the second round where Blachowicz is standing in front of him, so exhausted, he's got his hands on his thighs with his head down, and I'm like, he's absolutely broken, and there's a little more than 5 minutes to go in this fight. Credit to him, he had a couple of flurries in the third round, but just not enough. Shane Burgos knocked out Charles Rosa. I genuinely can't remember this finish, so I'm going to go back on my report. It's been so long. I'm pretty sure I had Burgos up 2018, but Rosa definitely had moments. Rosa's stand-up early was really loose. I remember that. He was throwing wild punches that weren't getting anywhere, so I kind of felt like his stand-up game was ropey, but yeah, He had his moments towards the end of the second round, and he certainly had moments in the third round, but then I remember Burgos knocked him out. I'm going to see if I can find it. In fact, I'm going to come back to it. We'll talk about the rest of the card and I'll come back to the end of that one. Kamaru Usman defeated Sean Strickland 30-27, 30-26, 30-26. I had it 30-25. I thought Usman just destroyed him. Now Strickland, the doctor did come in at the end of the second round. At the end of the first round, Strickland had a cut just under his left eye, and it was reasonably big, but to be fair, the doctor did a great job closing it up. By the end of the second round though, I'm pretty sure Strickland must have broken an orbital bone or something like that, and you get that kind of exchange that makes you uncomfortable watching on the TV, because the corner comes up to Sean Strickland and they're like, "Are you alright?" and he goes, "I can't see." And then immediately the doctor's just walking in and the doctor's like, "Can you see?" He's like, "Yeah." And the doctor's like, "Why are you squinting?" So they checked him over, obviously they let him fight, and Usman started the third round and he was just throwing looping right hands, almost daring Sean Strickland to see them. And Usman completely dominated this fight without ever getting out of first gear. So I'm really interested to see what will be next for him at welterweight. He was ranked 11 coming in, and he's got to get a top 10 opponent next. I mean, Strickland was unranked despite the fact he's been performing really well, and yeah, I mean, Kamaru Usman has got to fight a top 10 guy next. Excuse me. So, right, the featured prelim was the Miles Jury Mike Del Torre. Miles Jury had a lot of time off. Didn't look like he'd ever been away, to be honest. Finished off with a TKO elbows from the mount with 3:30 gone in the first round. This was basically a story of a black belt against a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and as soon as it went to the ground, Jury just went absolutely through him. He tried to go for the rear naked choke, but wasn't able to quite get it, but he always had the body triangle on, and he went from the position where he was on his back with Del Torre on top of him to flipping him over, mount, back to the back, mount, back to the back, and then Jury just was like, "Well, I'm not going to get the punches in, so I'm just going to rain down on him." So until the referee stops it, which he did. I'm really glad to see Miles Jury back, to be honest. He'd been undefeated and then he lost 2 in a row, so he'd had a difficult time, and obviously it had been like over a couple of years, and then he hadn't fought in I think 15 or 16 months, so delighted to see Miles Jury back. So yeah, UFC 210, it was quite a night. I think we can all agree with Implant Gate, with Towel Gate, with Knee Gate. The New York Athletic Commission absolutely sucks, right? So I really don't need to see them ever again. They have grandfathered a lot of rules over from boxing into MMA, which is bad enough. I know there's enough similarities that you can sort of make a case for it, but this has been rushed through so quickly. When you think that MMA was made legal in March, I think March, maybe April last year, and then the first card was in November. And Implant Gate happened yesterday with Pearl Gonzalez when Miesha Tate fought on UFC 205 in Madison Square Garden. That makes no sense. The towel thing, I mean, if you're somebody commented on the video yesterday and basically said, when I was ranting about it, he said he'd been wrestling since he was 4 years old, and you wouldn't get away with the towel at high school. You wouldn't get away at anything. Cormier is clearly holding the towel. There's going to be more into this. Cormier might get away with it because of Rumble's retirement. But yeah, that was a disgrace. And then the shambolic handling of the co-main event tonight. I do, like I say, I expect it to become a no contest within the next couple of weeks. Weidman will obviously appeal, and I'm pretty confident he'll win the appeal. So that's that. So yeah, UFC 210. Go watch it. It was interesting if you haven't already. And if you have, it's 6:19 AM. So I'm going to need to turn in for bed pretty soon. Next week, really good card coming out of Kansas City. Demetrius Johnson, Wilson Heiss in the main event for the flyweight title. Rose Namajunas and Michelle Watterson in the co-main event. I assume the winner of this fights the winner of Jędrzejczyk and Andrade, but let's see. Jacare fights Robert Whittaker, and Jeremy Stevens versus Renato Moicano. That's a fantastic main card for a Fox card, to be honest. Rest of the card, Tom Duquesnoy makes his UFC debut. He's got Patrick Williams, Bobby Green and Rashid Magomedov, Tim Elliott against Lewis Smoker. Elliott talked about going up to bantamweight, but he's sticking at flyweight for the now. And we have 5 fights on Fight Pass. We've got Aljamain Sterling and Augusto Mendes, Zach Cummings against Nathan Coy, Ashley Evans Smith, Caitlin Vieira, Andrew Sanchez, Anthony Smith, Devin Clark, Jake Collier. Brilliant. The week after, Tennessee. I can't believe Cup Swanson and Artem Lobov is the main event, but it's happening. Hala Akina, Diego Sanchez, Ovince Pre-Marcos, Rogerio de la Lima, John Dodson and Eddie Wineland, Joe Lozon and Stevie Ray, Jake Ellenberg and Mike Perry. Pretty good stuff coming up, considering there's not another pay-per-view till UFC 211, obviously, which is an amazingly stacked card. We'll be doing a lot of previews of that as we go forward, but it is 6:20 AM. I am absolutely shattered. We've done half an hour. I think that's good enough. So if you enjoy this video, please like and share it around. Please subscribe to the channel as well. That really helps us out, to be honest. And go back and check some of our interviews. We spoke in the past sort of like month. We spoke to Amanda Cooper. We spoke to Brett Johns. We spoke to JJ Aldridge. We spoke to Arnold Allen, and then last week we spoke to Pearl Gonzalez. So hopefully we'll get a few more of them coming up soon. There's a couple that might be on the horizon. I'm not going to say any names, obviously, but go to bed. Good night, everyone.